Have you ever wanted to look into the future? Because today we have simulated Football Manager 1,000 years into the future. Well, we tried. We actually only got 850 years in, and then the whole game just broke because it just wasn't able to handle all of that. But there's crazy winners of the Premier League, World Cup, Champions League. All of that is absolutely ridiculous. But before we get there, you might have noticed that I said we. Well, that's because I didn't do this on my own. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. We brought all the boys from the Manager's Seat channel, and they have broken down the different sections of this 850-year plus save that we've simulated. And we're going to start in the Prem. Before this deep dive into the Premier League, I'll be bringing in my good friend Stinger from the Manager's Seat. Yay, there's Stinger. Look at him. The first thing that you probably want to know is who won the Premier League the most times in the simulation. And I know what you're thinking. It's probably Liverpool or United, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, maybe Tottenham. You were right. No, you're not. You're not right. Sheffield United won more Premier League titles than any other team in the simulation. They won 345 times, Stinger. What happened?
There's a storm in Sheffield, see. I don't know what's going on, but Bristol City, believe it or not, are hot on their heels as well, with way over a ton. So those two teams, they are on it. As for the rest of the big six, we've got two left. We've got Arsenal and we've got Manchester United. Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs and City, where are they? Take it down to the Championship, you'll find Liverpool, Spurs and Man City. League One? Nope. League Two is where you'll find Chelsea. They are stuck in League Two, but they do have 14 Papa John's trophies, so every cloud. Now, as for the lowest team to take down a Premier League, you're looking at Wrexham, so Deadpool's grandkids are going to be happy because they finally get 2 Premier League titles, along with tiny Gateshead, who took one down as well.
So the Premier League's basically been turned upside down by the year 2852, but it's nice to know that some records actually stayed the same.
Derby, I feel so bad for Derby. Somehow in the year 2395, they managed to lose 37 out of 38 matches.
But fun fact, that's not even the fewest points a Premier League team gained in a season, because in 24-18, Bolton got just 1.
Oh, and this is Llama. Llama's going to be popping up throughout the video to fill in some extra fun facts that he might have found while sniffing around the entire save file.
And kudos to Arsenal, who are beginning their 933rd consecutive season in the top flight. Now that's a fun fact.
Based off how crazy the Premier League was, you have to assume that La Liga was the same way, right? That's where we're headed next. The Premier League got all these teams, new champion teams, new dominant forces, great teams falling, all of this. None of that happened in La Liga at all. There were 2 teams that won every single title, and you can probably guess it. Not even Atletico, not even Sevilla, not even Valencia broke through one time. Every single title from 2022 to 2852 went to Real Madrid or Barcelona, and shout out to Florentino Perez, who I'm pretty sure is still alive in 2852, signing his Galacticos, because they won 473 titles, and Barcelona won 417 titles, and thus La Liga was conquered forever. In League All, where you might have expected that story to stay the same, it actually had a little more variance. The dominant team was still PSG. They won 454 titles, but other teams were at least able to give them some problems.
Yeah, PSG take it down. They had a 52-year streak at one point, which is just ridiculous. There was some other teams that fought back. At one stage, PSG didn't win it for 30 years, so the French were loving that. The big shock is Lyon now sit in the 3rd tier of French football, and Rennes all the way down in the 4th. Some of these surprise winners include, I apologise about this, but I'm going to give it a shot, Dunkerque, Fréjus Saint-Raphael, and Olympique Romorantin.
Here's an interesting fact. In 28-72, French side Clermont went through the entire season getting just 2 points and scoring 8 goals.
Huge shout out to Ligue 1, though, because the most recent Champions League final was actually PSG against Montpellier, but Montpellier won on penalties. So diversity abound in the French league in terms of the teams that actually became good. Before we go any further, we need to talk to the person that actually simulated their save to 2852, and that person is FM Jellico, who reached out to all of us to make sure that we could capture appropriately what the heck happened. But I only have one question for you. Why?
I was bored. I had a laptop sitting around not doing anything, and I thought, why not try something odd?
Human ingenuity at its finest. We thank your computer for its service. Did it ever catch on fire?
No, the computer I started last year's save with did die. And so I did get a new laptop. I told my wife it was for work-related things, and it kind of was. It's a decent laptop. It's pretty good. It's just the game got to a point where it broke. It's not really designed to do this sort of save, so you get to a point where either the calculations get too big or you're using up too much memory and it just dies.
But back to the leagues. We're headed to Germany in the Bundesliga, and to help us out here, we've got my boy, Johnny. But we don't need Johnny quite yet, because you know the story early in the Bundesliga, and that is that Bayern went on and just kept winning the league. They actually kept winning the league through 2059.
Actually, that wasn't even Bayern's longest run, because at one point they won 77 Bundesliga titles in a row.
But finally, mercifully, in 2060, the story changed.
And I'm happy to say that was Leipzig. RB Leipzig in year 2060 finally stepped in and took that trophy away from Bayern Munich. But it turns out their sponsor Red Bull does not give them wings, because now they are down in the 3 Liga. They have plummeted down the divisions. And going back to Bayern Munich, they actually won the title 556 times across the 850-year sim. Incredible figures. Probably the highlight of that period is in 2662. They won 34 games in the 34-game season, going unbeaten, invincible, call it what you will. But aside from the big names in Germany, there's a few of the smaller clubs risen up to the ranks, and there's some crackers here. Auerbach, Havels and Oberhausen. Apologies for ruining those pronunciations if you're from those beautiful villages. I presume they're beautiful in Germany. But those semi-professional teams now find themselves in the Bundesliga. But over recent years, Bayern Munich haven't had it all their own way. The trophies have been spread evenly across Schalke, FC Köln and Hoffenheim. And FC Köln are the second biggest winners of the Bundesliga, taking it home 108 times. And Dortmund, who you might think would have been second, only the 14.
From the absolute dominance of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, we go to Serie A, which is probably the least predictable one of all the leagues that you could have imagined. That's, of course, before you knew about Sheffield United's supremacy. The best team in Serie A was Inter, with 373 titles, but that to me isn't the main story out of Serie A.
I'd agree. That's not the biggest news from Italy. When you look at Scanzoro Siete Calcio, who were an amateur team in the lower divisions of Italy, are now mixing it with the big boys in Serie A, finishing third on 2 occasions. Speaking of the big boys, let's start with AC Milan, who ended a 4-year streak without losing from the year 25-21. Juventus, not to be outdone, went on the perfect season, winning 38 games from 38 in the year 27-51.
Fun fact, Juve may have won all 38 league games, but they reached the final of the Coppa Italia and the Champions League, losing both. But a 38-game winning season is nothing, because in 28-05, Inter started a winning run of 60 games in a row.
As for Roma Napoli, sorry guys, you are plying your trade in Serie C after a massive fall from grace.
The parity extended to the number of total league titles as well. Juventus won 359 of those, which is actually just 14 less than Inter, so we figured we should give them a shout out. But we're done with the actual league look at. Now it's time for the Champions League, and Johnny is still with us for that. And in this Champions League that has run for over 800 years, the legend of one of our favorite teams from this simulation continued.
And that is Sheffield United, of course, rocking up with 144 trophies. The Steel City are adding a lot more precious metal to the city. But there were some small clubs along the way who picked up that trophy, and probably the most shocking of all, a Breidablik, an Icelandic team who picked it up 4 times, and they did so as a semi-professional club. But not just any semi-professional club, a club that spent £144 million on a player in the year 2688, probably paid for one game they played against Partizan, where 427,000 people were in attendance.
Now, Breidablik might be an incredibly lovable underdog, but not as lovable an underdog as the subscribe button. Just think about how far we've come together, all because you went down there and clicked that button. And while you're down there, check out the channel of the people that made this video possible. The folks from the manager seat that you see throughout this video, they're awesome too, and their channel is right down there. There were some other big surprises in the Champions League as well. You had a Czech team in Blata Boleslav that actually won 4 times. You had Livingston from Scotland win 2. Walsall won 8 Champions Leagues from England. A Swedish team, Orebro, won 6. Even a Slovakian team, Mihalovic, won 2. Finland got 5 Champions Leagues through SJK. Another Slovakian team won 2 in Trenčín. And from England, Gateshead, remember them, Premier League champions and all? They won 4. There were also some one-time winners like La Louvière from Belgium. I nailed that. You don't even have to tell me. Altes Rheindorf from Austria, from our Floridsdorfer save, which of course, if you want to watch the save, you can click the Twitch link down in the description. I am live there. You understand how this works. Odd from Norway, so the Norwegians are represented, and Trento from Italy, who you might not have heard of, but I think you've heard of Italy. Now, nobody can beat the mighty Sheffield United, but if you're wondering how all the big teams did, fear not. Bayern Munich won 69 Champions Leagues over the course of the simulation. Nice. And Barcelona won 37 compared to Real Madrid's 54, reflecting their dominance in La Liga. While in Italy, we had Juventus win 56 titles, even though they didn't win the most Serie A titles. That went to Inter, but they only won 47 Champions Leagues. And even though AC Milan showed that they were incredibly competitive over the simulation as well, including those 4 unbeaten seasons, they only won 4 Champions Leagues the whole time. In France, Paris Saint-Germain was obviously the leading winner. They won 56 Champions Leagues, which is 56 more than they have right now. And I am now not legally allowed in Qatar. Wonderful. Now, in England's Big Six, the fortunes varied wildly, but England didn't exhibit the kind of dominance we would have expected. The leading winner, and I can't wait for the comments section on this, was Arsenal. They won 29 Champions Leagues. Manchester City won 26, Manchester United won 14, and then there's a pretty steep slope down to Tottenham. They only won 8 titles, and Chelsea only won 3. And you might be able to tell where this is going, but in 830 years, Liverpool won 1 Champions League, and it was in 2022. They are on the longest dry spell imaginable, 829 years without a Champions League. They won 3 less Champions Leagues than Breidablik. To be fair, Chelsea also won less Champions Leagues than Breidablik, and I believe in Breidablik's supremacy.
But we all know the real fun facts aren't in the Champions League, they're in the Europa League. And in 27-77, the part-timers Glenavon from Northern Ireland won the title. But here's the funnest of fun facts, and it comes from the Europa Conference League, where in 24-11, Valmiera from Latvia were the winners of the title.
Now, of course, club competition isn't the only thing that gets simulated when you go 850 years into the future. The World Cup was pretty fun too, and this is where England really showed its dominance. It won 44 World Cups over the course of the simulations, which was the most. But I have my friend Leo here to tell you about what else happened.
Yes, so 208 World Cups were played. England obviously won 21% of those. Portugal also won 31, and Germany 26. We also have a couple of surprise winners. Wales won 2. Ireland won 3, Scotland won 2, and Chile also took home 1 World Cup. And of course, with England dominating, there had to be this one guy with an insane record. Mickey Higginson scored 22 goals in 1 single World Cup. For reference, the all-time record is Miroslav Klose in real life, and he needed 4 World Cups to score 16 goals, so this is actually insane, man.
And everybody loves a Mickey Higginson fun fact. He may have scored 22 goals in the tournament, but England didn't even win it. Brazil did.
Sidebar, you know, with my love of Cinderellas in the international game, that I had to look up the craziest teams just to make the World Cup. And we had Pakistan make a World Cup over these 830 years. We had American Samoa make it, a team that is famous for having the biggest loss in the history of the international game. We even had Antigua and Barbuda make it to the World Cup. And oh yeah, they made the knockout stages. And so did Indonesia. Indonesia made the quarterfinals of the World Cup in 2770, but that's just not the craziest thing that we happen to find in the knockouts of the World Cup, because we did see Latvia make it to the 3rd round. And you're like, well, that's not crazier than Indonesia in the quarterfinal. Well, guess who Latvia beat in the 2nd round? Barbados. That's right. Rihanna.
Indonesia's great performance did not go unnoticed, because in the year 2852, they are in 18th position in the FIFA World Ranking. And another surprise in the same ranking is Dominican Republic at place 23, and Belarus in 13th position. And of course, when you have climbers in a list, you also have some big drops. Denmark, currently in 10th position in real life, dropped to place 95. The Netherlands are 8th in the actual FIFA ranking. In the year 2825, they have dropped to place 101. But the biggest drop is Croatia, 15th in the 2022 ranking. 830 years later, we find them in place 121.
That's it for all the results stuff, but I know what the people want. And it's more llama.
More llama, you say? Well, how about some Ballon d'Or fun facts, where Erling Haaland may have won 8, but Kylian Mbappe only won 3. But Haaland's record was equalled by Oostend's Carl Taylor, who won 8. But nobody can top the record of Mickey Higginson, yes, him, of the 22 goals at a World Cup final in his career with Internazionale. And Bolton Wanderers, he managed to win 10 Ballon d'Ors.
Breaking down this whole save was a journey, but that journey has finally come to an end. For us, but not for you. You can keep this binge going. We actually did a video where we simulated the World Cup 100 times, and there are the results. Right there. Right at your fingertips. All you have to do is click on it. It's so close. It's right there.